Affair recovery, is it possible? Is it possible after you've experienced infidelity, you've been betrayed by sometimes multiple people, okay? Your husband or your wife has cheated on you. Is it possible to actually recover and restore your relationship? That is a topic for today. And if this has happened to you, you definitely want to invest the next few minutes to find out if it's possible and how it's possible. Now, if you have yet to subscribe to our channel, we have so much about this topic and so many others. Please subscribe. And then if you have a question about this or any question, just put it in the box and we'll get back to you. So stay tuned. Affair recovery, is it possible? Now, before I go into this topic, first, let me tell you a little bit about myself. For over 35 years, I've worked with at least 5,000 couples or more. Most have had some form of infidelity, multiple infidelity, prostitutes, same sex, opposite sex, all kinds of behaviors that you can't imagine. And they stayed in their relationship and they stayed married. I've seen it week after week after week after week after week. Now, not every situation is that possible, but affair recovery is possible. Now, affairs are slightly different than the one-night stands or even the occasional prostitute, although those are awful and it's betrayal and it creates trauma. And before I go any further, let me tell you, if you've been cheated on, you probably want to get the book Partner Betrayal Trauma, because you've been traumatized. You're not yourself. You're not thinking the same. You're not acting the same. You have symptoms and you need to know what they are. And if you need help to manage the trauma, which you will if you're going to deal with your marriage or your relationship. Because so many times a divorce can happen because the trauma is not really being addressed. You're told to just get over, to move on, to forgive. And it's just not that simple. Even neurologically, you've been traumatized. We do intensives for partner betrayal trauma and for couples in infidelity. And a lot of the wives who've been betrayed and husbands, they do the neuromodulation as well, along with their treatment, and their brain actually can start to heal again. Because really, it's like being hit by a train. Even though there's no scars, inside you're all cracked up and damaged. And so that's real. So dealing with that. Now also finding out what was the infidelity about. Now it could be that that person just was in the wrong place at the wrong time and they start to develop a relationship and they liked each other. Okay, fine. It could be that it's a pattern of behavior, that it's not one, but it's anytime there's a possibility. It could be that the person has intrigue addiction where they're always kind of flirting, grooming, looking around, doing that. And it kept going until they actually participated in an affair. Now, intrigue addiction is unique, and if you think that's possible, I would definitely get the Intrigue Addiction DVD, download that so that you can get more information about that. Now, is it sex addiction? You know, where it's really, there's this long history of masturbation, long history of pornography, and the reinforcement schedule going so high to the object world that when they find someone who's willing to be an object, that they go down that road pretty quickly because neurologically, they've already reinforced that pathway in their life. And so they have very little resistance to someone who acts like an object or is willing to participate as an object with that person. It could be some fetish stuff that they go outside the marriage or relationship for. Why the affair is happening is really important to address for you to move forward. Because if you don't find the why, okay, now the marriage is not responsible for an affair. A bad marriage might be responsible for a divorce, but it is not responsible for an affair. And also, if someone's been using sexuality, like maybe in a sexual addiction, in their teen years masturbating porn, and they're already susceptible, when stress happens, they're going to go further into that addiction. So you can go to sexaddict.com for a lot of information about that, and for partners of sex addicts, lots of information about that. Okay, now, affair recovery is possible under a couple conditions. Number one, the person who's been hurt has enough truth that they can actually absorb what's happened. Because once there's been an affair, any reasonable woman or man would go, okay, is this the only one? Okay, they want to know when it started, when it stopped. They want to know that you stopped communication with them in any format. And these are reasonable things for them to absolutely know, not to just trust you. And if you're the man or woman saying, well, just trust me, I'm not lying to you now, that doesn't wash anymore. You are a liar. And because you're a liar, it's hard for them to regain trust by just looking into your brown or blue or green eyes. They need something more than that. So what we can do is to do a polygraph. We do them all the time here to verify, yes, it was this one person or 5 people or 25 people. Yes, it started the first year of marriage, the 3rd year of marriage, the 10th year of marriage. It did end 5 years ago, because sometimes I'm working with couples where the affair got discovered, but it was 10 years later, and the spouse is dealing with the affair now, even though the person who perpetrated the affair has been over it for a decade. And so there's different variables that go on, but it's totally legitimate to have a baseline of truth. And if this has been a serial behavior, to have ongoing polygraphs, that you're still not communicating with them, and that you're not grooming someone else for a relationship. And that's a reasonable request over a period of years to have that done. To know that you are really taking care of the issues in your life that have caused the affair. You know what they are. You're protecting our marriage now, or our relationship. And you are doing what you can to make the other person feel safe. Okay? That is partially your responsibility, to give them the truth. Now, you can't make them feel safe. They have to choose safety themselves. There's a great DVD called I Need to Feel Safe. Great if you've been through partner betrayal trauma. Now, the other things you're probably going to need to do is look at the structures of your marriage and rebuild your marriage. Oftentimes in an affair situation, marriage structures like dating, social, spiritual, feelings, sexuality, or the type of sexuality, money, are issues that are unresolved and need to be tweaked for the marriage to be healthier. I'd strongly recommend you come do a 5-day intensive or a 3-day intensive at our office, or get some local help, or call someone, get a phone session or 2. Now, for affair recovery to actually work, both people have to be in. Just the person who had the affair getting help is not necessarily going to make it work. This person's been traumatized, and if they just do the work and this person doesn't do work, it might not work. You both need to be in some kind of recovery process together. So getting a plan of action as soon as possible is the best. You know, I've worked with so many couples who waited a year, 2 or 3, doing it on their own. They didn't want to tell anybody. Sometimes they have religious, communities they wouldn't feel accepted in if they found out. And so it's important that as soon as possible, if you're watching this and you just found out, make the phone call, 719-278-3708 today. Get help, get started. We have partner betrayal trauma groups for women. And so that if that's you, you can be in Facebook and get a lot of support. There's thousands of ladies on there. And if you're a man, you need support too. Men get betrayal trauma too. Okay, there's no book on it, but you get injured and hurt. And it's also hard for you to get right back up and jump into this without having some knowledge. I got an email just, was it yesterday, I think, from a man who said, Dr. Weiss, my wife is this, she's done it again and again. And I just found out again that she's lying to me. What can I do? So men, if you're watching this, your pain's valid too. This isn't just a woman's issue. Women today are cheating at much higher rates because of the internet, Facebook, pornography. Women are into pornography way more than any other time in American or world history because of the internet and the accessibility and the privacy. So this is real possible that you're a man and you're the person who needs to address your healing and decide on the marriage. It will take both of you to do the work, both of you to be committed to the process, and it's going to take a while and change. You're going to need support. So take your next step, do some counseling, find out what's going on, get a plan of action, and a plan of action that can prevent. You don't want to just heal and get over this one event and go, okay, we're good now. Because if the situation as to why they created infidelity to happen comes up again and they don't have a plan for that, it could be disastrous. Okay, and also with an ongoing polygraph, the other spouse can relax because they don't have to question where you are all the time and check your phone all the time and go through all that stress and re-traumatizing themselves, okay? They can just know once a quarter for the first year, 6 months the second year, for as long as you need it, that there's nothing. You know, I have one guy, he comes back to my office, I think it's been 15 years now, comes in one day, takes the polygraph, passes every time, he's been clean for 15 years, and that's what his wife required of him. Just, I'm fine, I'll stay with you being married, we'll do the work the first year, and then after that, I want you to take a polygraph until I tell you to stop. And they had a lot of affairs, and so it was legit. She didn't want that to come back into their life, and that's what she required, and he was willing to do it. He comes in with a big smile, he passes every time, I call the wife, she smiles, and everybody's happy for the next year. So affair recovery is possible with the truth and with both people working on it. Now, if you have yet to subscribe, we have so much information about this and all the facets of this, as well as many other topics. Please subscribe. And if you have a question, put it in the box and we will get to you as soon as possible.